Hey, it's Bob with Proscapes, and today we are at Hawks Landing Golf Course working on this guy. So we've been here several times for leaks and have suggested a rebuild a number of times, and the customer finally agreed that they'd spent enough money looking for leaks. You can kind of see as they tear it apart what some of the issues were, which we could take a look at. But if you look down here, we're going to enlarge this whole thing, move the pond over to this side. And none of these waterfalls actually face the house. So you can't see them from the golf course really because of the shrub line. The biofalls you can see over there are falling over. One of them shifted left, one of them shifted right.
Julian!
And there are leak spots all over the place. You can tell right here where this waterfall is. The waterfall is higher than the edge. So really, in order to fix this, we would have had to do, you probably would spend more money fixing it than you do just starting over. So we're going to make it bigger. We're going to do the shelving differently. This line here is where our first shelf will start. The orange line over there is where that shelf will start. And then we're going to turn both these falls at different elevations, but so they actually face the deck. There's a nice covered deck here, upper deck. Those will get covered. The island's going to stay. And then the stream will come all the way up to the top, but they also have about 3 feet worth of elevation on that stream, and there's no cascades. It's just a stream on an angle, which is not very exciting. It also doesn't provide any oxygen, any more oxygen. So we're going to put cascades and all that. And then these falls up here, we're going to change to the one that's on the right will end up on the left, and then there'll be another one moved further over there that also points towards these windows on the house. Now, all the waterfalls are going to face the house for better viewing. We're going to keep rolling. Tomorrow we should have everything taken out and start rebuilding, put the skimmer in. This is all classic Aquascape stuff, so it doesn't exist anymore. We're replacing it all with Signature Series and an auto doser, an autofill, and then FX Luminaire lighting.
I got a quick question for you about the leaks. What are the biggest issues that arise from a leaky pond?
Well, just water loss, constant leak, and then it goes below the skimmer door, so then the pump sucks dry.
Okay, I was wondering if it raised up any of the ground where it would leak out into.
It can, erosion and whatnot, but mostly it's just, I mean, if you're on a well and you're pumping all that, or even, I mean, city water, it can get expensive. If you have an autofill that's making up for it and that just keeps filling, you don't really know you have a leak potentially if you can't see where the water spot is. If you pay attention to your water bill and suddenly it's much higher than it normally is. Well, you can see up here. I mean, none of these, there's so much stone in this. See how much stone is in there? That's 5-6 inches of stone, which is way too much. So I'm not sure who or why they kept adding stone. The edges are also sloped. They're not cut 90 degrees. Have water in it, so they came up and then crossed and then down, but there was no waterfall there. So it was kind of cut out for a waterfall, but then they just filled it with 5 inches of stone.
It was getting trapped.
Yeah, so I'm not really sure. And it was not a liner overlap or anything. Sometimes you'll put a shelf where you need to overlap the liner. We usually seen those anyways, even if it's a dry overlap, just so they can't pull away. I mean, the amount of stone in here is absurd, which is why we are going to pull it and clean it and put it right back. You can kind of tell everywhere at the level. You can't really tell where the bottom of the stream is because there's so much stone, but then in other areas, there isn't as much stone and you hit liner right away. So it's no surprise that it leaks. I mean, even over there, if you look where Kevin is, that waterfall is in the same spot it was from the beginning. Look how close it is to the liner edge. And if you look at the skimmer here, where that top of the door is, the overflow is just right above that. So it doesn't overflow the edges, it overflows out the back of the skimmer. But the liner right here, for one, you don't end a liner vertically, you fold it over this way. So that liner should be folded this way, a couple inches under the mulch, and then ideally it slopes away, and then you tuck it into the soil and then put your stone or weed barrier or mulch on top of that. But if it's like this, there's nothing really stopping that from slumping down, like right here. So that since it was vertical, now that liner is folded, this is folded in, and then all of this is all where water's been running.
And it's trapping.
Yeah, and that's lower than the skimmer door. Once that starts and everything starts eroding, then the liner just keeps falling further and further down. But I mean, I think Al was out here 4 or 5 times last year, and they finally said, hey, either we're going to pull this out or we're just going to redo it. They love the sound of it from the house here. You can see the nice decks. They have the deck work done and nice patio underneath. Most of the time they were sitting up there looking at a water feature that wasn't on. So
Yeah.
we're here to rectify that. We'll put some fish caves in. They get a lot of wildlife coming across the golf course. So this side will have a fish cave. We'll do the shelving a little different too. This side is going to have a marginal shelf for taller marginals like bulrush and stuff. And the inside shelf will be, that's 18 to 20. That's for the lilies. But then it's going to go down to 2 feet. This side will only be one marginal shelf for shorter marginal emergent species. And then where I'm standing here, this will go straight down to 2 feet. We don't do ring shelving around the entire thing. You see some of them where it's 8 inches, then it's 8 inches, then it's 8 inches. You lose a lot of volume that way because both sides you keep coming in. If you're using a boulder that's a foot, you cut a shelf out.
Through here, right?
Now you just lost 2 feet on 2 shelves of the width of your pond. If it's a smaller pond, an 8 by 11, and you do that, well, all of a sudden your pond's 4 feet across once you put the boulders in. So anyways, we can maximize our gallons that way. The more gallons, the more fish. We bought the house with the pond on it, so they're not sure who built it or how long it's been here. And I can guess from the age. You can see we put a new check valve and a new pump in it, so it's always questionable when you put it because they wanted more flow. So as soon as you put a new pump in, you increase your gallon rate. We went as high as we could because it's a 2-inch line. We're going to switch to a 3-inch. And the 3-inch line will be inside, and then it'll split into 2 2-inch lines, one for each waterfall. But that's too much of a distance to run and this is a 2-inch line originally ran to run both of those. We're going through pumps because it's too much head pressure.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, you can't pump that far on a 2-inch line. So then somebody else had sold them a faster pump, but then choked the pump that should have been on a 3-inch down to 2-inch, ran it through there, and it burned out in like a year and a half.
It's the little things you don't think about end up costing you money.
Yeah, well, I mean, you hope the contractor tells you not to do that rather than just sell you the pump. We put the pump in, told them you could do that because that was right when the pond closed last year, so it was kind of a temporary thing. We could run that, but now we're going to use a 9PL.
Take another look at it tomorrow and see how far we got. Hopefully it doesn't rain tonight and doesn't rain tomorrow, and we can keep plugging away. Like and subscribe.